Hello, and today I'm going to explain a little bit about my process. I painted this carousel that I saw in Perugia, Italy, and I just want to share a little bit about the details of how things went. Some things are sped up, but here's the finished piece, and some things I go in a little more detail. Hope you enjoy. Now we're getting ready to go up to 30 inches by 40 inches. And I'm in the process of preparing my panel. You can see I have the beeswax down. I've started scraping off the, and I'll have video on this, scraping off the excess on top to get my smooth surface. And I will say on these larger panels, there's a lot more imperfections in the surface of the beeswax. I'm not gonna get a perfect smooth surface. There's going to be a lot more pits, grooves. The tool's going to leave some areas, which is cool because I kind of like that. I think it brings a little life into it. It doesn't look like a flat photograph. So those imperfections make it more like a three-dimensional object. So we're just going to embrace it. And I'll take the camera and put it down on the panel so you can see some of these grooves and pits and things. And then I'm gonna get my template down on top of the beeswax and start cutting. And hopefully tomorrow I'll start putting this composition together. I'm sure it's gonna take a few weeks, probably 2, if not more. And we'll see what this one looks like in the end. Because I know going larger, I'm gonna get a lot more interesting things to put into the painting from the magazines, whereas on the small stuff it's really hard to get a lot of extra details. You got to focus on the important parts of the composition and then hope that you can tie in some things from the magazine to make it, give it more depth and make it interesting for the viewer. So here's part of the process that's rather boring, but you need to see how all those pieces get in place. And I'm basically just taking that template that you saw earlier. I lay it on the beeswax and I just start cutting the shapes that I see and choosing colors to put in those places. And it's time consuming, but here's a close-up where you can see I'm just pulling up one piece, cutting the shape and the color I want, put it back in place of that template. So when it's all done, I take a block and I'm burnishing the colors I want face down onto the beeswax. This kind of puts them in place so they won't move around. And after this is done, you'll see it just looks like a big collage with random paper. You can see the shapes of things, of course. And then I sand it. The sanding's just so I can spray it with water and it will absorb that water and I can rub the paper off. So after it's sanded, it looks like this. Then we'll get into the rubbing. Okay, so I'm gonna do this in real time for a while, and then I'll speed the video up at some point so it's not as long as it has to be. I wanted to do this in real time and kind of talk as I was rubbing off the paper, because I think it's going to be pretty exciting to see all the color come through. I can already tell I'm getting some good color coming through that pulp. That's a good sign. And it looks like I got some contrast. See how hard this paper is to get off all these little cuts. You can see I'm putting enough water on there to kind of move it around. It's pooling up little puddles, and I'm just going to rub it until it kind of saturates in all of the areas of paper. It's already got areas that are trying to kind of crinkle up. So I got plenty of water on here, I think, for now. And I'll add some to it as it kind of dries. hopefully all these transfers, all these different cuts transfer well. Nothing worse than doing a lot of fine detail work and then the ink rubbing right off. All right, so here we go. Just gonna kind of dig in. With this horse, I went a little bit more on the yellow side than the other horse on the last painting of the carousel. It was too orange for me. And I didn't really want to go brown, so a little more yellow. And of course, this piece being a little larger, I was able to cut more of those light bulbs in. And then I'll carve those again to make them pop even more than what they show now. So initially this is gonna still look kind of flat, but once I get all the paper off, I'll heat it up, infuse everything together, and then I'll take some tools and carve in and get some highlights by exposing that plywood in the background. There's some nice intricate details in this painting. And this is gonna be a workout. Woo. It's all right. Hopefully it'll be worth it. I'm gonna do this video in 2 parts. I'm gonna take a break here in a minute. Okay, so it's starting to get dry, so I do need to spray some water. If I let it get dry and I try to rub it too hard, I'll end up rubbing the ink off as well as the paper, and that's not good. We want the ink to stay. So far I like what I see. I've noticed I do have some areas where the ink is rubbed off, but it's expected to lose some of that transfer. It's like I shoot for perfection and then take what I get. You gotta be accepting of some of those imperfections because it's part of the process. There is no perfect. So as you can see, I'm speeding up the video. I cut out a lot of it just because it's taking forever. This was a major task of getting the paper off. So we'll jump back in here and talk about the finishing now. Link to click on. And then as soon as I get those others done, if you're following me, you'll get the notification that I've downloaded new videos. So make sure you follow. Okay, let's finish this polishing up. I'm gonna put some more water on here so I don't have any dry areas and chance of scratching any of my ink. As you can see, having that sheen of water on top kind of acts as a varnish, a polish. It looks shiny and those colors are popping. That's what we're gonna get when after I get done doing the carving. And I carve it, seal it again with some varnish, or seal it period with a varnish. Then that glossy stays on and we'll have this beautiful carousel horse hanging on the wall. Okay. How about that? I know the video quality is not the best. I'm just using my phone, trying to get something on there, and Like I said, when I start doing the carving, I'll go in here and get highlights, and of course the focus will be on this front carousel horse. But I'll put in some lines and stuff to define some of these things in the background. And then of course, come in and carve these light bulbs so that they kind of pop off of the panel. And then here around the top, there's a lot of really cool details in that design work around the canopy. So I'll draw in some lines and stuff to get that to looking better. But there you go. So here I wanted to show a time lapse of me carving the details in. As you can see, I just have a sharp instrument. I'm just cutting in lines, and it's funny, I go through the process of kind of outlining a lot of things, and then I take another tool that cuts a little bit wider line and I go back and take out more. I try to do this a little at a time so I'm not overdoing it. And then of course I'm going to fuse it in between a couple times, and keeping the wax a little warm makes it easier for carving too. I don't want to do it too much, but it does help. And then once it's all carved out, that's when I'd kind of reassess, go back and forth about taking out more. And then when I finally get happy with it, I will put a varnish on it. And as you can see here, this is the finished piece. Got a lot of good detail, especially the background of those light bulbs, the foreground with the horse. Thanks for watching.